Good morning, folks. So, today I want to talk to you all about my thoughts on the book East of Eden by John Steinbeck. Hopefully, you can see it there. Yes, I did get this from the library. I'm actually going to go return it after this video is over. I wanted to start this video because I have seen a couple videos pop up on my YouTube feed about this being one of the greatest books of all time, or it was whoever made the videos, one of their favorite books of all time, that it's one of the greatest Christian books of all time, and that it's John Steinbeck's magnum opus. So I thought, you know what, I want to see what all the buzz is about. So I decided to read it. It took me about a month to read, but that's my own doing. That's because I did take like a week or 2 week hiatus to in the middle of reading it. Not because it was boring. I just kind of got distracted with other books that I was reading. I'm going to make a joke about that in a second, but you can see that this is quite a lengthy book. It's about 600 pages. With that being said, if you decide to read this, you will need to invest a good portion of time. And with that being said, my recommendation is if you decide you want to read this, do some of your own background research before you read it. Look up the synopsis. I'll tell you a little bit about the plot in a second, but I want you to do your own research because this is something that I don't recommend you just jumping into lightly. It's a little hypocritical because I jumped into it without really knowing a whole lot about it. Um, but I was on a mission to try and read longer books, and I decided to start with this one. The story is essentially John Steinbeck's interpretation and his version of the book of Genesis in the Bible. And he has a lot of parallels to the characters of Adam and Eve and Cain and Abel, whereas this is set during the late 1800s and early 1900s, and it's an epic family saga that goes over the lives of two particular families, the Hamiltons and the Trasks. And honestly, when people are in a conversation with others and they make a joke about someone talking for too long, they say, "Yeah, he told me his life story." Steinbeck literally goes into the life story of every character in this book. It's not an exaggeration. Because of that, it is a slow burn. So if that's something that you're prepared for, by all means, give this a shot. It goes into detail about the themes of love, betrayal, particularly family love, betrayal, jealousy, and good versus evil. And those were all things that interested me, so that's why I finished the book in its entirety. I think if I had started this in high school, this is something I definitely would have put back on the shelf and not finished it because it would have been too boring. So I thought that now that I'm adult, I should give it another try, or give longer books another try, since I've developed different perspectives since high school when I used to be a voracious reader. The other thing I wanted to mention about this, the way I approached it was I tried to read 60 pages a day just so that I could meet that mark of um, 600 pages by the due date. Um, the other thing I wanted to mention is if you see a lot of videos saying that this book is fantastic and that they highly recommend it, they're not wrong. However, personally, I kept waiting for it to get better, not because it was a bad book, but just because I think I'm spoiled by modern entertainment and writing. So I kept waiting for a grand finale or something exciting, whereas it's more true to life as to detailing the overall uh, history and experiences that families go through. It's not set up like Jack Reacher or um, Atlas Shrugged. So that's one thing I just wanted to mention is I would say it's a great book. I wouldn't go so far as to say it's fantastic though. Nevertheless, Steinbeck writes really well. It's not written on a level that's really hard to understand. It is a bit dated, but once you start reading it, it doesn't really feel like it's written in Old English or um, Shakespearean language. It's very easy to read. Steinbeck does use a lot of exposition, as I mentioned earlier, so that is one thing you'll have to be mindful of when going through this book. Uh, Talking about the length again, I read Indubious Battle, which is also by John Steinbeck, while I was taking a hiatus from this book, and that book's about 260 pages. You could fit 3 or 4 of those in this book. So I just thought that was funny. Another thing that I think resonated with me personally about this book is I live in California, so this book also goes about the history of Northern California in the Salinas Valley, and they mention places like Monterey Bay and San Luis Obispo. So I think that also was something I enjoyed personally. So if that's something that you want to learn more about, by all means, give it a whirl. It is something that you'll want to talk about with someone once you've read it, because like when we were in high school, we'd read Of Mice and Men or To Kill a Mockingbird, and we would have discussions about it with the instructor, go over the thematic elements, the metaphors, the parallels, and that's something that I wish I could do with this book. So that's one reason why I'm making this video. If you have read it and you had similar thoughts to me, or you thought differently, please leave a comment. I'd like to learn more. I also wanted to share this video so that the common person that might be on the fence about reading it can get another perspective on what someone else thought about the book. A lot of times you'll see people make book reviews and you think like, okay, well, they're exaggerating or they're just trying to ham it up for views. But this one, I started a goal to read more literature, and I decided to give this one a shot, see what all the buzz was about, and it was good, but it was something I was certainly waiting for it to get better. The finale, or the ending of this book, isn't necessarily controversial, but it is well known. It has been said to make people burst into tears once they've started reading it. I was pretty indifferent to it because I was expecting something grand and explosive, a culmination, whereas it was just kind of, I don't want to say it was abrupt, but it just seemed kind of tame. It was sad though, I will say that. So I wanted to share that with you. The other thing is, it did kind of remind me of Game of Thrones, not because it had violence or sex, but because you had multiple characters that interacted with each other, and you had to read multiple chapters to see when certain characters would meet. So that's one thing that I will mention in praise for the book, is if you're interested in learning about how different characters interact and meet up with each other. Two of the greatest literary characters, according to some, are in this book. You have Lee, who's a Chinese servant, and Sam Hamilton. They're the voices of reason. And I did thoroughly enjoy the conversations that Steinbeck wrote between these characters and Adam Trask, because they did offer a lot of advice that can resonate with modern readers. It's one of the things that has been said to encourage reading of older books, is the human nature is still the same, and I did definitely pick up on that while reading this. So thank you for watching. I'm going to try to make more book reviews in the future, so please continue to watch my videos if they interest you. And if you have ideas for something else you'd like me to make a video about, drop a comment. Thank you. Bye.